listening to the TyePod, hosted by your friendly neighborhood PhD. All right, well, hi everybody. It's another edition of the TyePod, and I have a very special guest today, Sarah Burcaw, who is vice president and co-founder of Laughing at My Nightmare Incorporated. We've had the chance to work with each other here for a few years now with LAMN and everything, and I think we both share a lot of the same passions and energy for the nonprofit and all the work that we're doing. So it's really great to have you, and I'm looking forward to chatting a little bit.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me too, Ty. I'm honored to be here, and it's been so great working with you the past couple of years, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the years to come. And can I also make a comment that I love your hat, by the
Thank
way?
you. I like that. Yeah, that's has a little like sea turtle-y type thing going
Yeah,
on. Yeah.
it's great. I love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah. It's my kind of a signature now, but thank
10
you.
out of 10.
Yeah. But no, I kind of was thinking, starting out doing kind of a fun question. I'm curious if you have an anthem song now, and if that was the same that you had back when you were younger, maybe high school range, or like has it evolved over time?
What a good question. And I'm so happy to say that I absolutely do have an anthem song that
Yeah,
is the exact same as it used to be in high school. It's maybe a strange one. I don't know. But are you familiar with the Black Keys?
I am very familiar.
They had a song come out in like I want to say 2000. It may have been even 2007. This is aging me a little bit, but it's called "Set You Free,"
Mhm.
and it's just this rock song that is everything that you could ever imagine. And when I was in high school, I drove a three-cylinder Geo Metro, which is a very small, very little car. I think it could maybe make it to 50 miles an hour on the highway, and it would start like to shake. But in that little car, I had a subwoofer put in when I was 16
Mhm.
because I thought it was very cool. So listening to that song in that car is like the most memorable thing in my probably from high school, and
Yeah,
it is absolutely still my anthem now. So
that's
that's a
really
great
good.
question.
Yeah, which album was that on of there? Because I know I listened to them back.
I think it was Thick Freakness, I want
That's
to
what I
say.
was going to ask. Yeah, because that was one of the first ones I listened to of theirs too.
Yes,
Like that whole
yes.
album was just really good.
And I hope that that's the right one too, because I'm going to really kick myself if it's not. It's either that or Magic Potion.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
have to also then relay the question to you. Do you have an anthem from high
I do,
school?
and it's kind of it's evolved a little bit, but I was a big U2 fan. Like I became a huge one like around that '06
Absolutely.
time. And so like the Beautiful Day song was like my class
Mhm.
theme song, or our class song. And then I really liked the Elevation on that one. That was one of my big ones. But now it's older school. It's like Immigrant Song from Led Zeppelin that
Okay.
it's
Okay.
I don't know,
Love
it
it.
just has good energy to get going, and it's not too long,
Yeah.
so in case you don't have like maybe you have only 2 minutes to really get kind of pumped up from it or whatever.
Exactly. Except for
Yeah.
like 25 minute Stairway to Heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a little bit more rare on the playlist.
Yeah, for sure. Do you
Yeah.
remember on iPhones, like the very first generation iPhones, where the YouTube album came preloaded on Apple Music? Do you remember?
I remember that. That was a built-in thing with, yeah, yeah.
That was interesting. There's also some really funny memes about that. But YouTube
Yeah.
is awesome. So I'm here for all of that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, kind of some classic sounds there for
Yeah,
sure.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, cool. And the Geo Metro, I have to make a comment on that actually, because
Please
my
do.
my grandparents used to have one, and that thing would get like 40 miles a gallon. And so
It
my
was
grandpa was like obsessed with
incredible.
always driving it because it was such a
Yep.
fuel.
And
Yeah,
it would
yeah.
cost like $12 to completely fill the tank, and it would last for like a month. It was insane.
It
It
was like
was
the
just
pre-Mini
amazing.
Cooper or something, I
Yes,
think. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, that was such a good car. I'm pretty sure we had like 200,000 miles on it by the time. And my mom sold it. It's not even like it
yeah,
died.
yeah. Like it was still running at the
It
time
was
that you, yep.
absolutely still running. Yep.
It's crazy. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great though. I can
Great
picture
car.
picture the Geo Metro with the black keys
Absolutely.
jamming
I'm
out.
right there
Yeah,
with your grandfather for
yeah.
sure.
Very cool. But yeah, that's actually really good. We can kind of segment or segue into the LAM stuff a little bit there.
Sure.
So I was thinking if you wanted to give kind of a brief overview of like of yourself and how you kind of got into the to this point with LAM and everything, just highlights maybe, and then we can dig into like deeper, more detailed questions.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. So I am the co-founder and the vice president of Laughing at My Nightmare, which is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit that supplies adaptive equipment, college scholarships, and financial relief to people living with disabilities. And I started this with my cousin back in 2012. My cousin's name is Shane Burcaw. And at that time, Shane and I were actually attending Moravian University together.
Mhm.
I transferred in a little bit later and I finished my last 4 semesters at Moravian. But when I transferred, Shane was already going there. And it kind of just made sense because we also lived so close together that we would make our schedules just line up together. And so we would go to school, we would go to classes together, we'd go home together, we'd do lunch together, we'd hang out. He was also the only person I knew at school too. And
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know my cousin, he's a very funny, fun guy. And I can attest to the fact that he is the exact same way in person as he is
Mhm.
virtually. And Shane lives with spinal muscular atrophy. And he has been a wheelchair user since the age of 2. And at this time, we were going to school together. Shane had started a blog called Laughing at My Nightmare that just told the wild stories that he had, just growing up, talking about his disability, but also just talking about life in general. And very quickly, that blog grew to have a ton of followers.
Mm-hmm.
And this blog kind of just became a personal outlet for him. And it was like equal parts humor and honesty about living with muscular dystrophy. But then
Yeah.
what happened next kind of surprised us all, I want to say, because the people following him, they weren't just laughing, they connected with him. And they also shared their lived experiences and responded to his stories with their own stories about being overlooked, under resourced, excluded simply because of disability. And it just became really clear really quickly that this wasn't just about one person's experience. It was about a community that needed advocacy, inclusion, and action. So the blog kind of showed us the importance of and the power of storytelling, but also the urgency of creating real change. So long story very short, Shane and I decided to start this nonprofit called Laughing at My Nightmare that would provide resources to the disability community, but also kind of share this message of overcoming adversity using different types of tools. So again, this started back in 2012 and things have evolved greatly over the course of time. Shane has put out some best-selling books, which has done nothing. They've done nothing more than helped grow the foundation of what Laughing at My Nightmare is. So since 2012, since we started, LAMN has now provided over $1.1 million in resources to the disability community through the equipment, through financial aid, through medical treatment assistance, and we're still always growing. So I am honored to still be doing this full time. We have a great board of directors and a great team, and we have you on our team as well, Ty, so I know you can attest to that. So that's what LAMN is. That's what we
Yeah.
do in a nutshell.
Well, I love that. And I actually wish I would have found out about it way before because in 2012, I was about a year away from getting my bachelor's degree. And I
Okay.
was going to the University of New Mexico and all those things with, money and trying to like figure out like what equipment I needed to be independent enough to go to school, and then obviously with tuition and fees and everything, there were just
Yeah.
all these layers. And I was fortunate enough to, be mostly funded through, but, I could see very clearly that there weren't many people with disabilities in the academic space, at
Absolutely.
least from my experience. And so when I found LAM, years later, I was like, this is, something that I knew would be such an important part of
Mhm.
people's lives, and there were other nonprofits out there, obviously, and some that were, I guess, well, like MDA, for example, had already kind of established in a bunch of different areas, but I just found it refreshing to find the humor side that Shane definitely, you both bring to that, and so I was like, wow, this feels like kind of my style of humor, and so I just immediately, and I think this happens with so many people that first find out about LAM is that
Mhm.
you realize that it's kind of a part of, I mean, it's a part of you guys both before it even got to the point of being a nonprofit and going as far as it has and even building more now. So I think it's such a cool story still, and I don't know, I just feel like it has the right energy.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you saying that because I think like one of the things we never wanted to get away from was that we always wanted Lamb to kind of feel like this more humanistic, like
Yeah,
weird as it is to say, like your best friend type of thing,
yeah,
like your funny best friend, like, and we all deal with struggles. There's always something, there's always a reason to laugh, but at the same time, like life is hard. Life can be
yeah,
hard in many ways, shapes, and forms. And so it means a lot to know that the branding comes off a little the
yeah,
way we intend it to, because
yeah, yeah.
it is just about all of our lived experience. And that's what we want to always be the main focus of what the actual organization is. So that means
Exactly,
a lot.
exactly. And I like how it's not just like one age group, like I know in the past I had experience where, well, only pediatric side really is involved with muscular dystrophy, but then
Right.
here's this population of us reaching college age
Yep.
adulthood, going through things with that, and there's very little out there on how do I
Absolutely.
navigate, these things with disabilities. So
Mhm.
that's a whole nother area when the scholarship program launched and everything. I was just like, this is huge, like this is really needed. So it's cool to see all the programs branch out from LAM, to focus on different needs, I think, of people.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool.
I love that. And also what you had said when you were getting your bachelor's and like your how it is a really hard process to navigate, because there really is no book on the different options that are there for, people living with disabilities, or even just like how to manage the caregiving aspect of it being at school every day. And I remember when I started to go to Moravian,
Hmm.
Shane's biggest struggle too was that his younger brother was also going off to college, and originally he was going to kind of be his caregiver and be able to be there for him during the day, but chose to go to a different school. And Shane was kind of like, what are you supposed to do? Like, it's not like there were full-time aides at the college.
Right.
So I mean, it worked out very well that I was going to be going there, but I just remember him trying to figure all of that out and not really knowing where to turn or who to talk to, and trying
Yeah.
just to even get someone else's perspective on how they did it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that relatability is rare to find, but I think it's becoming more common though. I think
it
I
is.
mean, we can see kind of the social media communities, starting
Yep,
to be closer knit, I think, and things
for
like
sure.
that for sure. Yeah. So going into that whole side of maybe some mental health type of things too, is there anything that you kind of turned to yourself over the years, or things that maybe you and Shane shared at certain points when, like you ran up against some kind of challenge?
Absolutely. And we faced a lot of challenges, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But the thing that both of us always had, especially when Shane was still living here, music was always our outlet. Because there would even be times we did a lot of traveling together.
Mhm.
Because we would, one of the biggest things we did in those first couple of years was doing the speeches. And that's how we raised a lot of the funds that we were able to then use to
Yeah.
provide equipment. We were doing a ton of traveling. It was far travel. It was like we live on the East Coast, we were going to the West Coast, we were driving to Chicago, we were driving to Vermont, we were going all over the place, which was amazing. But there was always something would happen. I mean, that is kind of
Always.
hard for the course. And, it would be really hard. It wouldn't matter how much we tried to practice what we preach. There were times where it was like there was something really frustrating going on, and we always had our little playlist that we would play. And we both had we also had like shared musical interests anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Shane would plug in his phone and we would just put his phone on and we would just sit in silence for maybe an hour or so and then we'd be good. And that is something that I think we both would do separately and together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Just like jam session on a road trip or something.
absolutely.
Yeah. I love that for
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah. I was
Mhm.
thinking the same when I went to some research conferences like in Seattle and places my dad and I would drive for hours and hours
Mhm.
to be there. And music is definitely, that was a big thing building the road trip playlist. And yeah, definitely. I bet yours had some Black Keys,
Oh, of
probably.
course. It
Yeah.
absolutely did.
Yeah.
And Shane and I would find music we both liked from each other. And
Mhm.
sometimes we wouldn't even want to tell the other person that we really liked the song.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you just like play tricks on each other occasionally and like throw on a
Oh
song that's
gosh,
kind of,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Shane would do things like he would tell me that he got locked out of his hotel room when he and like because we would usually his brother would typically come with us or his dad to help
Yeah.
the caregiving side of things and he would do stuff like that. There was some very funny stuff that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not gonna lie, but it was great. And I miss those days. That was a lot. It was a
Hmm.
lot, but also it was I don't think we really realized what an experience we were actually having during that time because it kind of felt like there were some days where it just felt like work, and there were
Yeah.
some days they were like, wow, we got a lot to do today. This is a little stressful, as everything is.
Yeah.
But it was an incredible couple years for sure.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Were you involved with naming LAMN in the beginning? Like,
Oh
how did
my
that
gosh.
happen?
I was not.
Yeah.
And it was named after the blog. And when I found before the nonprofit was even like on the table remotely, and Shane was just kind of like sheepishly telling us about this blog he started because he didn't tell anyone in the family for like months. And when he told us the name, we were all like, what? That is like the world's longest name, Shane. Like,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But in the end, and as much as even when we started the nonprofit, we went back and forth with like, should we really do this the same name? Like, this is so long. I'm
Yeah.
so glad we did because
Yeah.
every time you tell somebody about Laughing at My Nightmare, they're like, what? Like, it's a memorable name and it makes people ask the question.
It's a
And
conversation starter. Yeah.
it's a conversation starter, and that is what you want, especially when when it's a nonprofit. It's something you have to talk about in order to like get to the next level with somebody anyway. So
Mhm.
yeah, even when I call to I'll call the medical supply companies to order
Oh,
the
yeah.
and stuff like that, and I'll use a credit card that has Laughing at My Nightmare as name every single time. It does not fail. People,
Yeah.
what? Can you tell me about that? So it's all good.
That's really great. Yeah.
Yeah,
He was on genius level, like from the start with that, I think.
yeah, he
Yeah.
definitely knew what he was doing. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Well, I was thinking about switching gears just a little bit, talking about kind of your experience growing up and with disability. Like I know that you knew Shane obviously from, being family and everything, but like how, as you were growing up, what was your kind of impression about accessibility and maybe the needs out there, and then how that kind of tied into Shane and everything?
So the interesting thing about my family, Shane was actually best friends with my younger sister growing up. They are the same age. We lived a couple blocks from each other. They went to the same schools. And so Shane was always at my house, and he always kind of had that like annoying younger sibling feeling all the time. They
Even
were
now?
hilarious, but they were right. They
Yeah.
they were awesome. They were so much fun. I love them. They are, I love my cousin. I love my sister. But it's kind of funny how that is how we actually grew up. And I remember the first it was probably when Shane, I want to say he was maybe 3 or 4, when Shane's parents started the process of obtaining an accessible vehicle,
Mhm.
which nobody knew the immense expense involved with obtaining the vehicle and how many hoops needed to be jumped through. And I'm pretty sure that his parents did fundraisers. There were organizations that started fundraising for them because, I mean, it was just an unbelievable expense that was unexpected to an extent. And I just remember seeing the community kind of come together in those first couple of years in order to just get this one thing. And
Mhm.
it's not ever just one thing. There are so many
Never.
things involved with, and like, yes, they needed an accessible vehicle, but like they needed an accessible vehicle, the end. They were just a family that were in need of this. And
Yeah.
it's so unfortunate that it is so hard to kind of get those high ticket items. And you have to push so hard to make it happen. And even a wheelchair, insurance only
Mhm.
covers, wheelchairs every so often. And
Right.
sometimes the ones that you get and you're approved for are not going to work for you. And I remember that also happening with Shane when he was 18, and he waited for like 3 years, I want to say, for this chair to come. And it was super exciting that it was coming, and it came, and it was the most uncomfortable thing he had ever
Yeah.
sat in. And he could only sit in it for maybe 15 to 20 minutes a day, but knew he needed to try. And it was just like, and even trying to get any type of fix or modification for it was
Yeah.
next to impossible. So,
Right. Right.
and watching that, all of that happen, and there was a slew of other things that happened because, eventually they needed a new vehicle and things like that. Um, but the straw that kind of broke the camel's back when it came to
Mhm.
like really seeing like opportunity and accessibility was when Shay needed a replacement vehicle. This would have been, I think, the third one his family had
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
started to go to college together. And he was able to find a program through the OVR and get assistance with purchasing this new van. And it was a lot of hoops. It was a lot of filling out applications and different types
Yeah.
of forms and lots of stuff, and then reporting and all of this stuff. But it happened, and he was able to get it. And
Mhm.
that happened, I want to say, 6 months before we started laughing at my nightmare, because
Wow. Okay.
I think it was one, seeing that these things are possible, but also seeing the complication to obtain it. But then also understanding that there was such a need for it.
Yeah, that actually, I still have conversations with like some of my family, and we talk about some of these challenges that are just, unless you've lived it, you really have no idea how complicated it is. And that's exactly, that experience, I think, is so helpful for Lamb too, because
Absolutely.
that knowledge is kind of built in just from, you know, like growing up with a disability like Shane did. So I mean, that need is huge.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. And, I get asked many times, like, oh, why did you, or what was your experience with accessibility? What was your experience with your
Mhm.
cousin? And I mean, I really do think that the most up close and personal thing was that last fan, of seeing what had to go through in order to get that last fan.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I will continue to do LAM until we no longer receive applications for equipment, which will never happen. Like, of
right,
course, there's always going to be a need. And now that we see them, I mean, you watch it too, Ty. Like, we get tons of applications that are
right,
absolutely worthy, that should be funded. And it's just a matter of the resources not being available, and not even just from LAM, just in general, just
right.
the lack of resources that do exist, even from state to state.
I want to say 100% of those applications almost, or really close, should all
Absolutely,
be funded. Yeah.
absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. And you know, it takes then people, in my mind, LAM is still like kind of this smaller on the scale of nonprofits. It's on the smaller
Right.
side, but we see so many, I mean, people then find us, however they find us. It's like, they'll do anything at that point to,
Mhm.
to try and obtain the equipment. Understandably so. So
Yeah.
the need is, the need will never not feel like it's there,
Mhm.
so,
Yep.
so
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I still think it's so great how you see, I mean, it still has that smaller feel
mhm.
overall, which I think is so, needed. I mean, it's so authentic, right? Like the empathy is, I mean, it's just kind of the core
Yeah,
value, I think, too.
absolutely.
But also it's expanding, and people, I'm still like, thinking about when I first found out you guys had already been doing this for, I think, almost 10 years. It's just like, wow, how is this going on? And I didn't know about it. So I think that's happening a lot still, don't you? Like there's still people that are just finding out
Oh,
about
for
LAM and what we
sure.
can help with. And yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Every year it brings with its own set of challenges, but it also just like something else, doors start to open,
yeah,
and things are continuing to be like so positive, and
yeah,
we're making the connections and doing the collaborations that matter, that get us where we want to go. And where we want to go is just to continue assisting people and showing the world how important this work really is.
right. Exactly, exactly. As far as like social media goes, I know you and I have talked about like what makes it accessible, or what, gets the news out to people.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes I know we both notice it's kind of negative attention that really makes things viral and things like that. But what's your take on that? Like how to still make sure that it's moving, on the positive side despite this negative part of it.
Yes, you and I definitely have talked about this. And I think it's like evolving too a little bit to some extent because yes, we do see a lot of negative comments. So Shane, as many people probably know, so Shane and his wife Hannah have a YouTube channel called Squirmy and Grubs, and they are constantly getting hate through the YouTube channel, through through their social media, through Laughing at My Nightmare social media, just about how the
Mhm.
relationship is fake, how none of this is real, all of that stuff, and it happens all the time. Which to my response to it is that's why our work is so important to show the world, just open people's eyes in a different type of way that clearly they are not open to, and continuing what we're doing. So what I would say is I do my best to obviously hide the really negative comments,
Mhm.
but to some extent, the amount of negativity that we get does nothing more but help us with the
In the end,
algorithm. In
right,
the end, right? It
right,
helps us. And obviously I wish that it didn't happen, but I
true,
also now see the people that do follow, LAMN, that follow Squirmy and Grubs, they are responding to these negative comments
true,
with positivity.
yeah,
So I think that that is helping as well. I mean, hate cannot fight hate. And all we want to do is just show these, is just be like, no, that's really not true. We
right.
understand you have your own opinion, but really, this is the world that we actually are living in. And these are the things that are actually happening. And these are all positive, and you're taking this to a negative place.
Mhm.
So,
So
um,
it's only coming back and basically like a weapon against yourself in a way.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. And it's probably, hopefully one day it stops. We would love to see that. But,
yeah.
again, comments help.
Right, right. And also like those are probably always going to be there too. So it's
They
like
are.
learning to utilize it in the right way is
Absolutely.
good, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're working on it. We're working on it. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And actually that's I was going to talk a little bit about how uh I feel like disability is something that links people regardless of age or wherever they're at, what they're doing. And that's also means that we have like recreational things
Mhm.
we like to enjoy, and I know that Lamb is has funded some things like that. But I was wondering if you wanted to share a story or two of like something that was used for fun or a hobby or recreation, because insurance, they don't even look at that as something that's
Absolutely not.
needed for health, and that's so wrong. So, I just think that
Absolutely not.
knowing
I
that Lamb is doing that is really great.
100%. Actually, I have two stories. The one was we funded an adaptive power soccer chair. There is a power soccer league out in California, but there is a specific like safety chair that you do need in order to comfortably and safely participate. And the chairs start around $15,000. Which, to be honest with you, I mean, it's kind of on the low end of what chairs
True.
do typically cost. And we were very fortunate to be able to fund one of those for a young woman 2 years ago. And I know that that made all of the difference for her. And the other two were actually adaptive bikes. There is a company, I think that they are actually based out of Canada, but they do have a small subsidiary
Mhm.
in America that they make adaptive bikes and different versions of them. And it's mostly for kids up to the age I want to say of 12,
Mhm.
but we were able to fund two of those, which the pictures that we received from those bikes were just like,
Mhm.
so like the joy and the happiness that just like encompass what those bikes were. We're so happy that we were able to do that. So we've done the adaptive bikes, we've done the power soccer chair. We also did an adaptive chair that was more of like an all-terrain chair that
Okay.
has more. I mean, I'm going to say this totally wrong, but this is the best way to explain it. The wheels were kind of like tank wheels.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
I
Okay,
know
so
that
like
one. Yep.
this thing could really go far. So we were able to do one of those as well, I believe in 2021, and that was a very impactful one as well. And I remember the
Yeah.
recipient; he was a young man who lived on the West Coast and
Uh-huh.
really wanted to get involved with hiking with his family, and so that's what
Yeah.
when we were able
Yeah,
to.
that's like all-terrain vehicle
Yes,
wheelchair. Like I've
literally an ATV
Yeah,
chair.
yeah. Like I've even scoped out the website a few times,
Uh-huh.
and I've thought about, this is something I might want to try. Like
Absolutely.
try some hiking trails with the ATV chair.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, that just has to be so like exciting though for the recipient to get that and realize like, wow, I can do these things, that there was no
Absolutely.
way that they could have afforded it before.
Right. And just like what you said, Ty, I mean, and you may have even had the same experience, like those type of recreation type of things that insurance would never even consider
Yeah,
does so much for someone's mental health that
absolutely.
it's kind of crazy that it would never be considered or would be low on the list of consideration. And,
Yeah,
you know, trying to kind of rewrite that narrative, I think, is important as well.
I
And
do too.
even
And
as an organization that provides adaptive equipment, like yes, we want people to be comfortable and independent, but there is an aspect to the positive, just the unbelievable impact that can happen from a chair like that or from an
yeah,
item that can give you the opportunity to go do things that you would not be able to do at home is so
yeah.
important.
It's a quality of life thing, I
Hmm.
think, that is just so important, and it's dismissed way too easy. I mean, like one of those things where, your mind and your body and everything are linked, whether you're disabled or not, and
Right.
so like if the mental health side is needing, more attention, the physical
Yep.
side is going to be needing even more. So I just
Absolutely.
find that, putting at least some focus on recreation mental health is like
Yep.
very, very critical for the community.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool to see that, those kind of applications are coming in.
For sure.
So
Absolutely.
I guess I'm curious when we're starting out, like, were you able to divert funding to different areas like that, depending on like recreation versus health versus maybe accessibility, anything?
Not until I would say, so the actual equipment granting program started in 2015. And I would say that it took until 2018 for us to actually be able to kind of diversify a little bit.
Mhm.
And it didn't feel like we were only funding, which is just as important as anything else, but it was mostly medical equipment in the beginning. There were some stair lifts. In fact, the very first equipment grant we ever gave was an adaptive bed, or an adjustable bed.
Mhm.
And I remember actually when we gave that grant, there was so much that went into making that possible because we crowdfunded for it. We held an event, we did a ton of stuff, and the cost of that bed was $5,000, which at that time was like, how are we ever going to provide this? I mean, we were starting from ground zero basically. And, then we gave it, and, Shane and I there was a day we looked at each other like, how are we going to continue to do this or like make the world believe, get access the world to try
Yeah.
and convince people that like this is so important and this changed her life. We can do so much more of this, but we kind of need your help. So then it was just a whirlwind. So
Yeah.
remembering how hard that was to fund, but how impactful that grant was on that family, and I will never forget that. I think Shane and I were just so motivated by that experience
Yeah.
that we just kept doing all of the things we possibly could to help raising funds. So by the time 2018 came, and we had obviously given equipment each year up to this point, but by the
Yeah.
time 2018 came, we kind of felt like, all right, we can do more. We can have actual categories where we, provide things specific to if it's going to be enhancing mental health, if it's medical equipment. And that was also the first year that we were able to give an adaptive vehicle,
Yeah.
um, which was huge. So
So it's been kind of an evolution then on where you could
absolutely,
actually give equipment and everything. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
it seems like knowing what I do on a very, very limited scale of what it takes to start a nonprofit and the restrictions that can be involved in things, it seems like something you would continuously have to sort of pivot or get creative to make work, for what the
Absolutely.
purpose of the nonprofit
Yes.
is. Yeah.
The only other nonprofit like professionals that I know that don't necessarily feel like they're constantly on the brink of having to like totally pivot, get super creative and create something, out of the blue as far as like from a fundraising perspective are from the organizations that have been around for a very, very long time
Mhm.
that are established either through a government grant or something like that. But if you are not that type of nonprofit, and we are funded by grants, we are not funded by government grants. If you are the one that is more on the creative realm and it's all about the people and getting people involved and the supporters. So these are humans, not so much organizations or,
Yeah.
foundations. It certainly is. It will challenge your creativity, but it is such a fun and cool thing to do
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
watch evolve. It didn't necessarily feel like that
Mhm.
when it all first started out because it's like, oh my God, what do we do? Oh my God, how do we do it?
Yeah. Yeah. But
But
looking
then
back, yeah.
yes, but then once you kind of figure out the equation,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
And
And
definitely worth it too, for sure. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I say this in 2025 though, but I don't know what I would be saying though if this was like 2015, 2016.
Right. Those would be interesting times to go back and listen to that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So the LAMN has basically three programs, right? That it uses so there was the scholarship,
Mhm.
one that we just started. I was going to let you talk a little bit about that, and then the other two, and just like a brief overview of the three
Absolutely.
maybe.
So the longest standing one we have is our No More Nightmares program, which provides adaptive equipment to people. We have a program specific in this No More Nightmares umbrella that supplies equipment to people living with any form of muscular dystrophy, and then one that supplies equipment to people living with any type of disability. We also have our new emergency relief fund, which is something that provides small cash grants to people living with disabilities experiencing any type of emergency. And we have our scholarship program as well, which we launched last year, which is providing college scholarships to people living with muscular dystrophy. And we are actually in the process of funding the first woman living with SMA who is attending Yale Law School. So she is entering her last year come this
Wow.
year, and we're very excited to be working with her. And then we have another scholarship recipient who attends UC Berkeley, and so we will be reopening that program then in 2026. But we are all about providing access to higher education along with restoring comfort and independence through equipment and also through the emergency relief fund. So those are the three main programs that Laughing at My Nightmare has.
Yeah, I love the fact that it like encompasses so much of the disability space, because at first, for anybody that might see it, and they think, well, this is only for muscular dystrophy. Well, there's no actually other areas that are also
Absolutely.
important, and that kind of unification of people with disabilities, I think, is important, because I do think we share so many of the same challenges,
Sure.
even within the same diagnosis. So I think that's really cool to see that it's kind of like organized in that way. It's kind of refreshing to me for sure.
I
Um,
appreciate that. I appreciate
yeah,
that. In 2021 is when it was like this natural evolution of like
yeah.
we obviously we are passionate about the muscular dystrophy community and we will continue to help in any possible way that we can as it relates to higher education and adaptive equipment. But it kind of became a no-brainer. Like we also should be providing a program for people living with any disability. Like we
Yeah.
knew that it was just as important. So yes, I'm very glad that we made that addition or pivot, whatever you want to call it, back in
Right.
2021.
Yeah, yeah, definitely same here. And I think that's going to be really cool to see where the scholarship program
For sure.
goes. Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm curious now. I wanted to kind of get into the events that you've been having and
Mhm.
the run, walk, and roll that you started. Like maybe talk a little bit about how it began and then kind of where it's evolved to now being
Sure.
it's like this huge social media, I think, endeavor now that's really cool to see.
Absolutely, absolutely. So our very first run, walk, and roll happened in 2013, and it was just a small in-person event. It wasn't actually that small. There was probably like 100 people there, and for an in-person event, like for a first round, that was pretty good. And it was actually hosted by Shane's dad. And so we got a bunch of people together, ran a 5K. The police were there to shut the roads down, and the event was great. So we held it again and again and again. And then come 2020, COVID is shutting down in-person events, and we made the tough but needed call to cancel the in-person event and just do it virtually. And up to this point, for like maybe 3 years prior to 2020, we had a virtual component to it so that people could sign up, they could get the shirt, they could be part of it. We had a leaderboard, all that. And we didn't really know what was going to happen with this virtual part of it. But that year we had like almost 600 people sign up. It was unbelievable. It was the best event we'd ever had. And it was solely virtual and it was all on social media. So on the week of the event, people post their like post race selfies with all of their friends wearing their LAMN shirts and whatever swag they get that year.
Yeah.
And then they tag us. And it's just like this whole big social media event. And we repost everything we're tagged in. We've got a leaderboard on our website for people to submit either pictures or their time if they want to actually race. And so that's what we've been doing since 2020, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, and it's continued to just get better and better. And I am pretty excited to say though, in 2026, we will be doing the virtual again, but we are also going to bring back the in-person as well. So that'll be
Nice.
a fun Bethlehem-based thing for our local
Yeah.
community here, so
Yeah.
we can get people back out again. But yeah, and so we've done the run, walk, and roll, and then we support disability-owned businesses also through Giving Tuesday. We purchase items from disability-owned businesses and sell these gift boxes on our website where people can support LAMN and also support these businesses and learn more about some of these businesses as well. So we like doing that also. It's a very cool, another cool virtual event that we hold in the end of the year that you get something from, and
Yeah.
I really like that campaign that we've been doing for the past couple of years. So
It's a good another opportunity to put in some humor too, it seems like, because I know you
yes.
have posts like little surveys about, racing snacks and
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Virtual events can be challenging, but if you do it in the right way, they're a lot of fun. So if you do sign up for the run, walk, and roll, just like you mentioned, Ty, people are able to be part of like the private Facebook group, and
yeah.
Shane posts in that, and there's some funny things back and forth, and people like to really get involved with that. So that is a lot of fun too.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like I definitely enjoy, finding some nice memes to go along with
Yeah.
with it too. So yeah.
Yeah. You're like our top contributor, Ty. It's
Wait,
awesome.
really?
Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, so I'm kind of I was curious what your like racing strategies are. Like, do you have specific things you do to get ready for something like that, like a 5K, even if it's in person?
The number one thing that I do if it's in person, you mean if I'm participating,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I will every time eat a full, very huge pasta dinner the night before. That is my
Yeah.
number one thing. And then I have to be in full silence the morning of. No one can speak to me. And that's why I like to have them as early as possible, the in-person ones. Or I like to
Yeah.
race as early as possible too.
In the morning. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, that's what I do. What are your, like, do you have any rituals that you like to do?
Not other than like trying to choose which cap that I want to have that's like or figuring out like, well, now that I'm in Tennessee with all the cool pathways and nature
Uh-huh.
scenes, like strategically choosing those. But no, I was thinking when you were talking about the pasta though, are you a fan of The Office? I'm sure there's
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember seeing the marathon they ran and they were eating pasta. I think Michael Scott ate pasta during the event or
Yes.
like crammed it right before. So I'm like, yeah, the fact that you moved it to the night before is that's much
Right. It makes a
safer
little bit more
strategy.
sense. Actually, funny
Yeah,
side note, I recently found out that there is a 5K in North Carolina where you run a mile. I'm sorry, I think it's 3 miles. Doesn't matter.
yeah,
You run a mile, you have to eat a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts and then run back to the finish line. It's only 2 miles, that's right.
yeah.
And but the point is to not throw up.
That sounds hard.
Yeah.
That sounds really hard.
Yeah. Thought that was an interesting one. And it's like
Yeah,
10,000 people a year or something do it. It's
really.
a crazy event.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why would they be willing to like
I
torture
don't
themselves
know.
that way?
I don't know, but
Oh
maybe
my
we need to
gosh.
rebrand the Lamb 5K to do something like
Maybe
that.
so, maybe so. We need to like, yeah, like how far you can go without getting sick
Yeah.
on donuts. Yeah. That's hilarious. Oh man. But no, I like your approach there. That seems like a
Thank
good
you.
way to
Yes, it's
go.
all about the carb loading. Yeah, carb loading.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really good. I'm thinking back on the applicants and like people who have been involved with LAM either, like maybe as part of the review team or as recipients. Like, are there any memorable interactions that you've had or meetings or things? I mean, I know you talked about the adaptive equipment, or not adaptive, but the recreational
Mhm.
equipment. But are there any other like little stories or anything that really just stand out?
So one of the grants that we provided was like an outdoor elevator or like an outdoor lift. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know
yeah.
an elevator, but that was pretty big. And that was also
Interesting.
near us. It was in a town called Stroudsburg, which is probably like 20 miles or so from
Mhm,
Bethlehem. And we knew that that was a major thing to provide.
mhm.
And we were just so grateful to be able to do it. And they made us a video and sent us all these pictures from all of their kids who were
Yeah,
thanking us for it. And they actually ended up coming to the in-person 5K. And we didn't know they were going to be there. And
yeah.
they just wanted to say thank you in person. I mean, I was so honored that they were there and just so
That's
happy
really
to talk
cool.
to them and hear what a difference this had made. Because at this point, I am not even 100% sure how they were able to get her wheelchair into the
So
house because they lived on like a really steep hill.
okay, so
Um,
the elevator was to get them into the
I
house on
think
the
it
right
was
level.
from the driveway up to the
Wow,
front door of
okay.
the house. Yeah, because there was no other way for her to get to the first floor without that, like with her wheelchair, because she had,
Mhm.
an electric wheelchair, and we all know that those are extremely heavy. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that one meant a lot. Honestly, Ty, I remember every single equipment grant we've ever given, and we've given hundreds, just because like there's always something memorable
Such a
about
unique
what's going on.
experience.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
unique. I'm communicating with a person that I'm not going to forget, and because we're helping to provide something that is going to make an impact. And
definitely.
so I could honestly mention so many of them that meant something or that really caught me off guard in some way, shape, and form. But really, I'm I am so lucky to sit in the chair to fundraise for it, but then also to be the person who's like the point of contact for the individuals that we are assisting, because
Yeah.
every story matters and is different and is important in some type of way. That how could I feel like if
Yeah.
everyone just had the job that I had, this world would be doing a lot, like just people would be caring about a lot different,
I
more
think so too. I think so
important
too.
things.
Yeah, yeah, totally. It's interesting you mentioned the elevator thing because I went to San Diego on a trip with a family at one
Mhm.
point, and we were looking at this aircraft carrier exhibit or something that was like
Okay.
parked there permanently, and so it ended up finding out the only way to get me and my wheelchair up onto that plane was a forklift fitted with like this makeshift like cage thing on it to raise me up onto the ship, and I'm just sitting here thinking now, why did I do that again? Like, why was I being so brave with that
But
one?
it's
But
also at the same time, like, why were they thinking that that was the best that they could do, you know?
you I really don't know.
Oh,
But yeah, the elevator you're talking about sounds like a little bit more safe to
yeah,
me.
It definitely was like, it was a very large piece of equipment. Actually,
Yeah, yeah.
none of us realized, even the family did not realize how big it was going to be until it went in, but it works perfectly. So,
Yeah, yeah. Like forklift seems like it would be a little
yeah.
bit outside of ADA compliance, but
Right. Maybe a
anyways.
smidge, maybe a smidge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Ty, do you remember like a piece of equipment you did get like throughout your life or growing up that really like totally changed your life?
Wow, that's a good one. You know that for me, when I switched from, so I was driving one of those scooters that has like the three wheels, and not
Okay.
like the kind that you see in like supermarkets, but like we're talking,
Mhm.
these things look like almost motorcycle level, and they were long and
Really?
bulky, and like I had to navigate high school classrooms, and my graduating class was 64, so it's not like we had
Oh,
this like
wow.
giant
Okay.
space. But the first time, so I think I was a junior, and I made the decision to switch from that to just the regular like shaped power chair with the seat
Okay.
and everything. And that was like, you would think that it wouldn't be that different because you're still just getting from, one place to another inside the hallways and stuff. But it was the access, the ability to sit under a table, sit next to people instead of
Sure.
away off to the side, like that was huge. Just
Huge. Well, and
improving
I
like
would
the
also
social,
imagine, like,
yeah,
even just the difference in having the joystick versus like the handle control.
the
'Cause I'm assuming it was like a
control.
handle control.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that
Mhm.
made a huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. Speaking of stories, I think I left a few black marks in the hallways from those because those levers would catch on like my shirt. I'm not kidding you. And like there were a few times it rammed me into things, and
Oh,
that was a whole nother reason for switching. But
wow.
I can remember it was in the gymnasium, and it was like some honor society banquet or something, and I was like dressed up and visiting people. I caught that handlebar and it went like steering into a row of chairs, like the movable chairs. So I think it went through three rows before it finally stopped. I got the
Oh
shirt
my
off,
gosh.
and so
So there
anyway,
was just a little bit of a safety issue also involved
that
with
too.
that
Yeah,
chair.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh
there were a lot of
man.
issues with the long, 5 foot wheelchair
Oh,
scooter.
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
But that was a big one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
I would
For
imagine though that that transition probably made a massive difference for you.
it did, and I used the other style of chair for probably 15, 20 years. And
Gotcha.
then now I have the perma wheel that has a few other features mixed in, which are
Mhm.
pretty life-changing. But
Mhm.
yeah, like, sometimes being able to switch to the different style of equipment is just pretty life-changing. It really is.
Can make a massive difference.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, even I guess this is more of like the negative way, but so Shane had that. He had two permobiles, I'm pretty sure, and that first
Okay.
one was just like his everything, but it was very beat up. I mean, he'd had it for years.
They take a beating.
They absolutely do. And the first round that he had the ability to get a new chair, he didn't want to do it. So he waited. So he made that thing last for a very long time. And there were quite
Yeah,
some time there, like he got stuck in the rain once. And I remember it shorting out and
yeah.
we had to like with him and his dad were out there and I'm like holding an umbrella and he's trying to
Oh
do
man.
what he needs to do to
I
try.
know that I know this story, so
Yes, 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 yes. But then he got that new one that I had
yeah,
mentioned a little bit earlier, and I just remember him just being so defeated and bummed those first couple days when he realized that he had no choice but to figure out how to make this
right.
one work. But it was so incredibly uncomfortable that he was
Yeah.
miserable. Honestly, I felt for him, but there was only so much I could
It's
do.
so
So
hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
100. And thank
I
God
mean,
the other
it's
one was still like usable, so he was able to
I was
at
going to
least.
say, I used my old one in my house for transfers
Mhm.
for years, and I posted on social media the other day about using duct tape to hold it together. But like,
Yes,
I
yes.
literally could not get into the shower, into bed,
Mhm.
toilet, any of that without that old chair at the time because
Sure.
it was the right height, and so like
Yep.
you would think it would be like you go buy new shoes and put them on and you're just like everything's
Nope.
great, right? But it's not. Like you get brand new state of the art thing, and right away there's five issues that
Absolutely.
interfere with
It
training.
takes time. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember the seat, like the Shane had a seat that I think his dad had kind of makeshift made him because it was made of memory foam and it was like perfectly contoured to
Yeah,
how he
right.
could comfortably sit. And they were just could not replicate it in the new chair for whatever. I don't know if it's because it was more narrow or it was too wide. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
that was just such a pain. Eventually, we figured out like a solution and it wasn't like the whole seat, it was just like one side of it or something like that. But and then not to even mention like when we would fly and using
Huh.
like we just kind of created a custom car seat for him that was also not particularly comfortable, but it was comfortable enough that he was like, all right, I can make this one work.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And that was tough too. And then and
Did you fly to quite a few events
we
starting out
did
with LAMN? Yeah.
we did those first couple years we did. It did kind of get to the point though that it was so there was so much that had to go into the flying, and Shane would kind of, I mean, it was a lot on him,
Mhm.
obviously,
Yeah.
that it was like, all right, if we could figure out a way to do this virtually though, we would rather do it virtually just so, or and then we started like driving. We started, I mean, the drive to
Right.
Chicago was like 15 hours or something like that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Which
it was
those are
just
awesome, but they're not sustainable. I mean,
exactly. I
yeah.
mean, we drove to Virginia, like, yeah, the West Coast trips. We went to California twice. We went to Washington State once
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and amazing experiences. But they were all hard. They were
Right.
definitely hard to get through. And I felt for Shane in many ways, but the driving ones were a lot more fun.
Yeah. No, I love the road trip thing. Like
Yeah.
I even think about now, like, man, when can I plan another one of those? But
Right. Road trips are so
yeah,
much fun, especially when you don't, if like you leave at the right time that you don't really need to get anywhere that day.
exactly.
It's just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like, it takes a while, but it's fun. It's just less stressful. You're not having to deal with an airport. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. We like went to Vermont. I remember the Vermont trip was like in the beginning of summer and it was
Yeah.
just gorgeous. And we just both, it was like one of our last trips that we took. And I just
Yeah.
remember being like super memorable and we had a lot
Wow,
of
that's so cool. Like that whole eastern, like northeast side is somewhere I really want to try to
fun.
get to.
So
Now I'm on
beautiful.
East Coast kind of. I'm like, well,
Right.
maybe it's a possibility.
Yeah, seriously, highly
Yeah.
recommend. Vermont is a very cool, especially in the summer. Vermont is a really cool place.
Yeah,
Cool
yeah.
place to visit.
I thought I'd never go to somewhere like that back when I was, in New
Oh,
Mexico
sure.
because it's like, 30 plus hours away, I think,
Right.
driving.
But
But
here you are in
I
Tennessee.
know, I
With us on
know.
the
So
East
it's
Coast. I love it. I love it.
and now maybe even the in-person like run
Absolutely.
and walk
That
and
would
roll
be
is a possibility.
so cool. I would
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah.
But
You
no,
can visit the beautiful state of Pennsylvania.
yes, even though the football teams are not quite my fan. I'm not a big fan of them right
Shane's
now.
gonna mute this part. Shane's
I
like,
know, I know. Hey, I can cut this out. Yeah, but no, I would love to do some in-person things with Lamb as we get going more with
we
it,
would love
and it's
that.
just awesome to kind of see where everything going. But I'm curious, like you as vice president, like looking back on how it started and where it's going, like where do you see going forward, like with the program, just like keep building and reaching more people? Is that
Absolutely,
yeah
absolutely. Especially now with our scholarship program, which is a little bit more new. Obviously, that started last year. And it was kind of a piloted program a little bit.
yeah
Now seeing the feedback we've gotten from it and knowing that it's going to continue, I just see our numbers as far as the people we're able to assist in all aspects of our programs increasing, especially after this year. I just feel like this has kind of been a monumental year for many reasons, with just launching the emergency relief program and getting an
mhm.
unbelievable outpouring of support from that, and just knowing where we're going to go and the things we're going to be part of. I think that we're just going to be able to assist that many more people. And so some aspects, things will continue to look the same when it comes to fundraising, but in other aspects, when it comes to the impact of our programs, it's just like, this is what you want as a nonprofit. This is the feeling you want to have. It's kind of like, even though we are well over 10 years old, I still feel like we're so young, but I kind of finally am starting to feel like
Yeah,
we figured it out, you know?
like in the prime stages of
Yes.
being a nonprofit. Yeah,
And that we're not going anywhere. You
yeah,
know, we are
yeah,
here to do something and we know how to do it. We know why it's important and people are responding to it. So
yeah,
things just feel good. The
yeah.
future just feels good. And we are in some challenging times in many ways. We all know that, but I believe in this mission. I believe in the people that are behind us. I believe in the board of directors, especially including you, Ty. I believe in the people that are carrying us, which is you guys. So I
Well, I mean,
think
you and Shane were the magnets, so to bring it all in. I mean, like that I think that's what's so cool to see the people kind of gravitate towards,
absolutely.
Lamb and everything.
Absolutely. I think so too. It's just what an incredible community that has been built, like on from every aspect, whether it's the in-person Bethlehem community to the virtual community that we've got to our social
Yeah.
media following. I just think that this is doing exactly what we intended it to. I just don't think we knew that it was going to be possible,
Right,
you
right.
know?
Yeah, yeah. And to be at the point where it's, you have that sustainability now and there's that
Yeah,
comfort level so you can focus on really,
absolutely.
the mission of the program.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And that's what it's
So
all about.
for people that want to get involved, maybe that have needs for accessibility or they know somebody, like what do you recommend is the best way for them to get going on that?
Absolutely. So laughingatmynightmare.com, there is a tab that says apply for assistance. And if you just hover over that, it has all of our different programs, the No More Nightmares program, Emergency Relief Fund, tech accessibility, scholarships. It's all listed out there. So you can just click on them, read through them, see if it's a program that works for you. It has all of the information in regards to when the application is open, what is needed to apply. All of that is listed on the website. If you want to just get involved with LAM, there's also a Get Involved tab that you can either subscribe to our mailing list. You are welcome to start a fundraiser for LAM if that's something that you would like to do. You can sign up for our virtual run, walk, and roll. And we're also in a little bit of a partnership with Biddy and Bose right now, where if you click a link and purchase coffee or hot chocolate from Biddy and Bose, a portion of your purchase will go to Laughing at My Nightmare. So there's a bunch of different ways to get involved. They're all listed very obviously on our website. Or if you just
Yeah,
want to learn about what we've done, just click the Our Work tab and you can learn all about the things that Laughing at My Nightmare has accomplished and what we plan
yeah.
to do in the future.
Like I'm definitely a big fan of the email list too, because the updates on the racing and yeah,
Yep.
the most recent one with the pet involvement, was that your puppy that was
That
there?
is my puppy. We try
Yeah,
to keep it
Charlie,
funny.
was
We
that?
try to keep it real, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, they're part of the team for sure.
They are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that sounds great, Sarah. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of what we're doing, going forward. And I plan to stay involved with Lamb as long as I possibly can too. So
We
yeah,
absolutely love that. And thank you so much for having me. And thank you so
yeah,
much for being part of Laughing at My Nightmare, Ty. You play an integral role. And we could not be more fortunate to have you part of this team.
yeah.
So thank
Like
you.
I love it. But I guess closing fun question to tie back into so favorite thing about summer that you have, and I don't know, music is probably off limits since we already used that for
So I am a closet cornhole professional.
really. I did not know
Yeah.
this.
I'm really bad at it.
Yeah.
full disclosure, but I like anywhere I go that there's cornhole, whether it's like a park or a bar or whatever, I am going to play cornhole. I am going to lose, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to play. So that is my absolute favorite thing about summer, especially like in the Northeast where it's so cold in the winter and you really can't go
Mm,
outside. It's just like you got
yeah.
to take advantage. What about you? What is your favorite thing about summer?
Wow. Well, I think definitely, feeling like I can go outside and not just like
Mm-hmm.
freeze,
Freeze your
is a
face
huge
off.
thing.
Yeah.
So like, being out here there's like lakes and waterfalls and outdoor, all kinds of events going on. So I'm really looking forward to digging into that, even though humidity
Absolutely.
obviously is a thing, but still.
You are in a beautiful place though. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
wait to see what it is you're able to explore and check out. I think you're really gonna like it there.
I think so too. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad summer's like basically here at this point. Yeah.
I know we made it.
Yeah.